Okay, welcome back to The Take with Charles Butler. We're at the top of the hour, and I have on the air with me a young man who has not only fought for his country, but had to fight the Illinois state government to maintain his reputation, maintain his name, because the system tried to criminalize him because he's a black man in uniform. He's a black man who is moving forward. He's a black man who accepted responsibility, and the system tried to criminalize him. And the only thing that you can really equate this to, because we haven't seen anything like this, and we've done research, is the color of his skin, and the fact that the prosecutors refuse, and I do mean refuse, to acknowledge the innocence of this man. And I'm going to allow him to tell you his story, because I found it most fascinating. I first met Major Christopher Bond when he sent me a packet of information when I was working at WVON. And I went through it, and being an ex-military person, I certainly knew what he was talking about. He was being denied the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of his profession, because of some racist, white, and Latino, by the way, prosecutors. Welcome to the show, Christopher Bond.
Thank you so much, Mr. Butler. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Major, tell folks, give them a little synopsis about what happened to you and how we had to fight the system to get your honor back, to get your reputation back. Because, see, all black men are part of the criminal system, so we just throw them in jail, or we lock them up because they're black and we know they're criminals, or they should be criminals. That's the mentality in Chicago. This is the most racist city I've ever been in. I tell Rahm Emanuel or Mayor Dale or anyone else that to their face, and I think that the statistics justify it. Go ahead. Let's talk about you and what happened to you.
Sure. Quickly, back in 2008, I was wrongfully arrested and maliciously prosecuted for allegedly assaulting my wife's 94-year-old great aunt. Just summarize, we took her in. She had meager income because she was pretty much at the end of her life. We wanted to ensure that she had a good quality of end of life. We took her in. An incident arose because my aunt had been diagnosed 2 years prior with dementia that was deteriorating. She became combative and started to strike me, and I loosely held her wrist to keep her from hitting me. Immediately after I called 911, pretty much the police, two police officers, Chicago police officers, paramedics arrived, interviewed everyone, examined my aunt, and based on my aunt's complaint, they knew it was virtually impossible for me to have done in terms of trying to strangle her to death and or strike her. The police and the paramedics left without incident, without any police report. In fact, they radioed in and said no domestic issue, so forth.
But you called the police.
I called 911. Because
so you can't even call the police if you're black, if you're a black man in America, and expect them to come to your house and do the right thing.
That is so true, but because of my medical training as a physician assistant, I work with geriatric patients, but also because of her primary care doctor said if her dementia deteriorates, make sure you call 911, and I called her doctor afterwards. 5 weeks after that incident, I get a call from a detective who asked me to come into the police station for questioning for something that two police officers had already acknowledged.
Yeah, but you had a detective. You had a detective who was trying to get numbers. I had the same BS happen to me. The difference is, go ahead, tell them what happened when you when you voluntarily went in to be questioned.
I went in. My attorney was 15 minutes late. Immediately, 3 other officers jumped on me and they arrested me. put handcuffs on me, took me to an office, and then I handcuffed the other into the ring on the wall and read me my rights and told me I was under arrest for aggravated assault.
That's how they treat black people in America. That's how they treat black men in America, regardless of your stature, regardless of who you are. And I always say this, and Michelle Obama said it very clearly, and people tried to shut her up. But when they asked Michelle Obama, when Barack initially started to run, was she scared for her husband running for president? Because Colin Powell gave that BS excuse that his wife was scared, but that was totally BS. Michelle Obama said, no, I'm more afraid of my husband leaving our apartment, our home here in Hyde Park, and being stopped and arrested or shot going to the store to get a pack of cigarettes. I mean, that's life in Chicago for a black man. I mean, here you have a sitting U.S. senator who was afraid for his life. You had Danny Davis, who was taken in to be arrested because he was driving while black, had 3 other black men, old black men in the car, and they said he made an illegal lane change. They arrested him. Now, you got illegals in this city with no driver's license, and the first thing these people say, for lack of a better term, you know what I want to say.
Yes.
They let them go, and they don't even have a driver's license. But you or I, if we are out without our pass card, we go to jail. Now, white guy who gets stopped without his license, they call it in, he got license, we let him go. No big deal. We live in 2 entirely different worlds. So when I hear people talk about race is not important in America, I don't even pay these people any attention, because at the end of the day, President Obama, I used to tell, what's his name, the guy's a Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas. I used to tell Clarence, take your behind up to Georgetown, walk out of a restaurant and try to catch a cab. He makes his assistants go out, or his clerks go out and catch a cab for them, because he know those cabs won't stop for a black man. Okay? That's why I always rent a car when I go to D.C. or have a limo drive me around, because, man, these cab drivers will make you strangle somebody. Okay?
Right. Well, it's kind of like you're saying. I often have discussions with my white counterparts, and they don't get it, and they think, this is just a stream of bad luck that you've had.
Bad luck until it happens to them.
Like, look, this is racial. I said, because even if the court if we were to stand parallel, and we both committed the same crime, let's say breaking and entering, if the maximum sentence was 5 years, as a black man, I would get that, period. But you would get 4 years suspended, you'd get 1 year probation, and you would never do any jail time.
You were just having a bad day.
Yes.
But you and I, we're held to a different standard. It's just like, all of these black elected officials that Anita Alvarez is going after. She hasn't gone after any white people. Now, you gonna tell me that there are no white people downtown in our government, in the city government, in the state government, that aren't committing crimes? That aren't, all these contracts that are not getting to certain people and somehow there's no malfeasance? Come on. But you know what Barack Obama promised her if she did that, right? And I'm saying it here first, and it's true. Anita Alvarez, and I'm just telling you what I've heard from a number of people. I'm telling the audience, Anita Alvarez will get a federal judgeship for what she has done to the black political leaders of this town.
Oh, yes, and I can believe that, because she was in the chair spearheading the state's attorney's office when my case was going on, and I wrote to her. I went to her office as well, and even produced the documentation. But the state's attorney's office, unfortunately, they're not concerned about true innocent or guilt. It is about, you were arrested, we now have the case, and we are brainwashed, and our doctrine is that we're going to prosecute you to the fullest.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why so many people are in jail wrongfully.
Well, wrongfully in jail, but look what happened to Governor Ryan when he tried to correct the situation.
Yeah, that's true.
They wouldn't even let him out of jail to go to his wife's funeral.
Yeah, they turn on you. When you are part of the system and then you want to kind of clean things up and correct things, they're going to make you pay, even though you're trying to do the right thing.
Well, that's why, I've always led this battle for you, Chris, and for others, in doing the right thing by all people. And I think that's why I have so much credibility, not only in the black community, but with my white counterparts, because I always try to do the right thing for everyone, because I believe in America. I believe in the system. Right now, I have a young man who's being illegally prosecuted by the U.S. Marine Corps, and we're going to step in. I'm going to have him on the show. We're going to step in, get him an attorney, and fight his case. He happens to be white. And, you know, and I tell you, it's just unconscionable what these folks are doing to American citizens, and at the same time bending over to allow illegals to run rompshot in this country. Illegal criminals. I am tired of these Mexican criminals thinking that American men are wimps because we don't get out of the car and fight when they cut us off, when they give us the bird, when they try to intimidate us. I'm telling you, we need concealed carry in this city more than any place else. But you know, Chris, you've been in combat zone. You've been over to Iraq. You were deployed over there, and you were fighting your battle a number of times while you continued to fight your battle while you were deployed to Iraq. I remember talking to you on the phone, and you talked to the audience. Tell me, how do you feel emotionally about what you've gone through? How do you feel about the country? How do you feel about how you were treated?
It's I don't know if there's even words in terms of how I feel in terms of being let down. You would think a case like mine, and I can understand a career criminal. I can understand someone who commits a crime or continue to commit crimes, or there's evidence and or witnesses to corroborate that person committed misconduct. But when a person is innocent, I feel as though the country, I'll put it to you this way, it was as though the Kuwaiti government and the Iraqi government treated me better than the U.S. government. And that's just the truth, because I even filed a formal complaint with the Illinois Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, as well as the U.S. Attorney General, Eric Holder's office, and everyone in between, from civil rights organizations, all fell on deaf ears, as though I was insignificant.
And the reason that you're insignificant is because you're a black man who you're an honorable man. First of all, you're an officer of the United States Army, and these Negroes, the black folks, the Negroes in these civil rights organizations, you're not poor, you're not destitute, you're not a career criminal, so they don't care. All they care about is maintaining their poverty pimp train. And when we come back, Chris, we'll continue to chat about this. But I want to ask you about this young boy who just got adopted down in Florida. My heart went out to him. But we got Major Christopher Bond on with us, man who was wrongly convicted and has since tried to clear his record. 800-259-5791. Welcome back to The Take with Charles Butler. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago, and I see you folks out there on Facebook. I see you out there on Twitter. Keep them coming. That's all I can say. I will answer you when I get off the phone, but right now I have U.S. Army Major Christopher Bond on the air with me, a man who has defended himself against wrongful prosecution. And, Chris, that attorney you had, he should have told you, don't go in the station without me.
Yes.
See, my attorney came by and picked me up and took me to the station. And when we went down to the station, I was arrested because the detective did not want to question me because he didn't have a case. They just wanted to harass me because I supposedly had beat this white man up. And I told them, if I had beat that white man or any other man, I would tell you I beat him and why I beat him, because that's what I do. That's what I've been trained to do. I just don't go around beating people up. I'm not a criminal. I don't go around starting fights. Never have. But see, Chris, if we don't fight, and the reason I took such great interest in your case, and that was before I had my issue with the Chicago PD and the city attorney, the state's attorney, The reason I took interest in your case is because I know what goes on. I've seen Marcus Allen, the football player in Los Angeles and Heisman Trophy winner at USC, stopped, harassed, put on the ground. I tell the cops when I was in L.A., I'm not getting on the ground. You get on the ground in your uniform. And so, I remember, well, these people don't know because they don't know me, but, when I was a naval officer in San Diego, I had 2 white guys attack me, and I hurt both of them. And they were down and they were moaning, and, when the police came, they, pulled their guns and, and I identified myself. And so, as they were questioning me, of course they were cutting me off because they wanted to hear what I had to say, because there were 2 white men who were obviously in pain. I had dislocated one guy's shoulder and dislocated and broke the other guy's arm. And so the cop said to me, we walked over. I said, well, let's ask him. I said, I said, man, why did you grab me? And the guy said, well, we were just playing with you. I said, well, do I look like a toy? And he's like, well, man, we just want to. I said, I don't know you. You grabbed me. And so the cop said to me, so he was trying to talk to you, and you did this to him? I said, he's lucky I didn't kill him. He said, is that a threat? I said, no, sir. That's a promise. That's what I do. And the guy looked at me, and he realized, but I'm telling you, man, you always have to stand up for yourself. And that's one reason why I have no respect for Dr. King and his madness, because when those people came at you, shooting and killing and hanging, you needed to take them out. That's what God wants us to do, defend ourselves. I defend Israel. I respect Israel for defending itself. I respect who we fight against, the people we fight against, for defending themselves and standing up for themselves. I've never ever agreed with Dr. King and his madness about nonviolence, when the only people who had violence perpetrated against them and continue today are black people. In our neighborhoods, we're the ones who had this violence perpetrated against us. And Chris, being on the South Side.
Yes. And
it's not white people who are out here shooting us and killing and raping. It's these black folks who are encouraged by the white folks downtown. Because as the Supreme Court justice said, the city refuses to protect black folks. And you cannot get white folks to understand that. And some black folks don't understand it. Isn't that amazing?
Well, yes, it absolutely is amazing, and I think a lot of blacks in our communities, we have it's a misconception, and people don't understand protecting yourself, civil disobedience, and nonviolence. Those things are important, but I will tell you, I am a Christian. I love the Lord. I love all my brothers and sisters. But if you come at me, I am not going to lay down and be a doormat. I think
that's what Martin Luther King would do.
But in any reasonable situation, I think I would try to
defend yourself and your
more
family
towards nonviolence. But if violence is something that has to be, or force has to be implemented, I will take those measures. And not only because I've been trained that way, but because I am going to protect myself, and I am going to protect my family.
Well, Chris, I've been right there with you the whole way, Major Bonds. I've been there with you. I will continue to be there with you, and we will continue to fight these fights. Because at the end of the day, you need to be vindicated. Your record needs to be cleared, and you need to be reimbursed for the hundreds of thousands of dollars you spent. But we'll come back and we'll talk about that some other time and try to raise some money for your defense fund. Major Christopher Bond, folks. We'll be back with David L. Massey from Project 21 and National Center.